Out of all the bears that I've had the privilege of observing, fishing alongside, and photographing throughout my years in Alaska, there's only been a few that have really made me nervous. And almost all the bears that fall into that category have been younger, subadult bears who are in the stage of testing their limits and trying to establish themselves in the local bear hierarchy. One such bear that I can clearly recall was a young Kodiak who I first encountered on a beautiful morning while fishing for silver salmon along one of my favorite rivers on Kodiak Island. It was one of those cool, colorful fall days when all was right with the world. As I was thoroughly entranced by all the beautiful surroundings, my salmon fishing spell was suddenly broken when I heard the water splashing around behind me. I looked over my shoulder to find a young, fat Kodiak bear not more than 30 yards from me and moving in fast. I immediately stopped fishing. I went through the usual bear safety routine of identifying myself as a non-threatening human, and I slowly, cautiously backed off and put as much space as I could between me and the bear. He seemed to appreciate my moving on and simply went about his business of catching some fish for breakfast. I was at a very safe distance at that point, and I happened to have my camera and zoom lens with me, so I was able to get some memorable photos of that bear fishing and eating his fill of fresh salmon. After my quick photo session, I begrudgingly left my favorite fishing hole behind and moved on about a mile downstream to fish another spot. But wouldn't you know it, about an hour later, here came that same bear, who boldly muscled right into where I was fishing and essentially took over once again. Now, bears communicate a great deal by their body language, and it was obvious he was telling me to get lost. And so I did. I once again moved on to try to fish yet a different area, and sure enough, the whole process repeated itself again. That bear simply didn't want me anywhere on the river at all. As it turned out though, I was not the only one that bear didn't want to share the river with. As I found out in the weeks to come, he ran off virtually every other fisherman who came along. And it wasn't just people that he didn't like. He bullied and ran off other bears, he chased away eagles, foxes, and he would even chase away seagulls who were trying to feed on the abundant fish. Even though the salmon run was extremely plentiful that year, and there was more than enough fish to go around for every creature in the area, that bear seemed to get a real kick out of exercising his newfound dominance. He just seemed to have a real bad attitude. But in reality though, again, he was a young bear in that stage of development where they tend to push the limits and get themselves into trouble with both other bears and people. Now let me point out that in remote parts of Alaska, such as Kodiak Island, bears and humans share much of the land together and utilize many of the same food resources, such as salmon. People who live in such communities depend on harvesting fish for their annual food supply just as much as the bears do. And again, usually there's more than enough fish to go around for all. Most of the time, we all get along just fine. Most people are respectful of the bear's domain and stay out of their way when they show up to go fishing, and most bears likewise make it a point to stay away from people. However, this is often a learned process for both the bears and people, especially for people who are new to bear country. There's a lot to learn about being safe and respectful around these incredible beasts, which I'll cover more in future videos, so stay tuned. If you'd like to see more videos like this one, be sure to subscribe to this channel and check out the 3 Minutes Outdoors website at 3minutesoutdoors.com.